Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Craig from Great Touch for a Big Lad, big Stoke City fan, is part of Bearpit TV, which Elliot's the owner of, the main man of. It's too early for Craig, for me to talk to Craig. He's in bits.
Very raw.
He's very raw right now, but Elliot's far more mature, and so he's been willing to sit down and chat with me. And so what we want to do is we're going to have a look at some of the stats from the season and just kind of have a look at what's gone wrong at Stoke and what were the reasons why Stoke went down this season. So it might be a bit painful, mate. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So first of all, we've got it here on Soccer Stats. Having a look at that. Before you go deep dive into the stats, what do you think was the main reason why you went down?
Defence towards the start of the season. For me, we didn't have a solid defence. We brought in Kevin Wimmer, record signing for 18 million, who's now sat in the under-23s, which is baffling. We couldn't fix that solid defence, and big results as you saw back up there against Tottenham, your 5-1, your Man City, your 7-2.
Sort of set the tone, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think we were one of the worst sides for being in leading positions and then losing.
Really?
So we just didn't have that steady
team
we could see out a lead.
Do you know what? I saw that, and I'll tell you what, I'll show you it now actually, because that is really interesting. That the half-time team table. I'll tell you what, I won't get it up here because it'll take too long. The half-time table. So if games ended at half-time, you'd be 10th.
Yeah, we'd be fine if we could just see out those leads and actually take a point or 3 points. But even in the last game that's just confirmed our relegation, we're 1-0 up. We could just sit tight, but for some reason we carried on going for the win, and they hit us twice on the break, and that was it, 2-1, and we're relegated. So
what do you think? Why were you losing games in the second half like that? Is that fitness? Is that quality? What was it?
Under Mark Hughes, I'd definitely say fitness. It's come out since that he was letting the players do whatever they wanted, and Paul Lambert's now taken over. He's got them a little bit better, but still, that just level of fitness, that standard level of fitness, just isn't there.
Yeah. And then this what I thought was interesting as well is that I did one for QPR the other day, and we won a lot of points at home. But when you look at that, I think in the top 5 teams in the league, then things happen. You're going to struggle to take points from there. But from from 7th to 13th in the league, or 12th in the league, you've taken 5 points.
Terrible.
So being able to beat those teams was part of it as well. And I think I think that does come down to the fitness, because on different moments in the season, you'll have a game where you're up for it and they're not up for it. If generally you're up for it as a team, but because the distance in quality, you're a team that's finished 9th for a good few seasons, so the fact that you weren't picking up any points from those guys, that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is quite similar to last season's table of home and away and teams in those areas, but last year we didn't even have any results. I think it was anyone above 12th, and that was it. There wasn't even a point. But there was enough, wasn't there, to kind of keep you up? We had that early result against Arsenal there when Hesse got us all 3 points with his goal. But this still isn't great. You've got to pick these wins again against different teams from a bit higher up in the table, and we just weren't doing that. And like you say, this around here, we weren't taking points off anyone, just above 13th and 5 points.
Do you know what, that right-sided column, that the away games, 1 away win at Watford all season. I mean, I think when people think of Stoke, they think of the old days. What's the big difference between those seasons and this season?
So we have lost some of that quality in the dressing room, and I think Charlie Adam was speaking about on 5 Live last night, and he was saying about how we've lost those people like your John Walters, your Glenn Whelan. They were all gone this summer, and they were the old heads. And if you had those players still around, you'd think that the players like Hesse, Berahino, Wimmer, maybe Choupo-Moting to some extent, wouldn't be all there in this modern day and age where they're on the smartphones, Instagramming before training, and that led to a social media ban at the club.
Right.
But if you had those old heads still, and as much as it pains me to say, because I think some of the best football we've seen was the Stoke Alona football with our best foreign imports.
Well, was that 2014, 2015?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, you can see it here. You got 21 less points than that season, and it has slowly kind of. You can see it there. You kind of went up to 21 points for that great season. Was that Bojan Arnautovic, Shaqiri's first season, and then from then on, it slowly sort of wound its way down. So I think it's that mix, isn't it, between the team that gets you up and keeps you there for a second, and then moving on from there, it's tough to do.
It is, and Mark Hughes, he did implement that Stoke owner mentality for a while, but as soon as it didn't work, he dropped it and went straight back to Peter Crouch up top and John Walters on the wing. And it is finding that balance, but if you've got to stick to your guns, if you're going to go and try and play a certain way, mixing it around just didn't seem to work, and that ultimately cost Mark Hughes his job in the end.
I wonder if a big reason for that is the fact of what happened at QPR, because he did the opposite. He just got rid of the players that had got them there, and it went horribly wrong. They didn't have the work rate, and so maybe with Stoke he's kind of gone trying to learn from his previous things, and that probably got him an extra season. If he'd have just gone gung-ho and got rid of them all straight away, then it would have been very different. Last thing I want to talk about from the stats point of view with Stoke is the goals. You can see on your screen now the top goal scorer is Shaqiri, he's not a forward, is he? What position is he? Winger.
He plays out on the right wing,
Yeah.
but he's also played quite centrally for the majority of the season because we've had hardly any options up top. He's sort of played off the striker. But yeah, you'll see there, Shaqiri's been influential this season. Mamadou, next up, he played the majority of it at right back.
Yeah.
And somehow is still up there with 6 goals. That's been the tale of us for many a season now. We just haven't had an out-and-out striker.
And at the start of the season, who were you hoping on? Who were you banking on to get the goals?
Hesse or Chupo, the 2 newcomers, the replacements for Arnautovic, but it never worked out that way. Even Berahino, if you were being an optimist, but he still hasn't scored in 2 years.
Well, I think so. If you can give me one thing overall, because from me, the one thing I would say from looking at all of this stuff and what you just said there, recruitment has killed you at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Record signing, Kevin Wimmer, 80 million, sat in the reserves. Berahino, 12. Mbula, out on loan somewhere, another 18 million. Bojan, out on loan somewhere.
I feel your pain. I remember that. I remember those years. You spent so much money on these people,
Exactly.
but that's it. When you're in the mid-table area, it's about the recruitment and it working out. And unfortunately, it hasn't done for Stoke.
It's been a
good
shock.
thing is 2 games against QPR next year.
There you go.
Every cloud. Thank you, mate.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
If you haven't checked out Bearpit TV, go and do so. That's Elliot's channel there. And on Twitter, Elliot is very funny on Twitter. What's your Twitter?
Apparently, at Elliot Hackney.
At Elliot Hackney. So go check him out. If you're new to the channel, then subscribe to James Lawrence Allcott. Let me know your thoughts on Stoke and on the relegation situation in the comments below. And check out our World Cup Selector podcast. We pick our 23-man squad, so go check that out. I'll see you soon.